Phew, Cynthia, I could need a breather after this amazing video. But the show must go on. Hello and welcome to the Sketching Greyhound. As you have probably already noticed, this video is part of an amazing Halloween collaboration with just a lot of crazy talented artists. You find the list down in the description. Do not miss out on them if you haven't followed all of the premieres of this collaboration already. Anyway, when I planned this video, I tried to find a scary story that is centered around this town or something, and honestly I couldn't really find anything. Since I'm German, about the scariest thing we know are incorrectly filled out forms, so I had to write my own story. And you don't believe what happened then. When I finished my story, suddenly a ghost appeared out of nowhere and stole some of my words. So I need your help to finish the story. So if you wanna help me, grab a pen and some paper. This, by the way, is a very scary ghost. If you want to confirm for him that he is very scary, you can do so by subscribing and ringing that bell to not miss out any of the future videos. Okay, I need the following of you. A. Give me a creepy nickname that you would give somebody that you don't really like. B. Give me a creepy color that you don't like that much. C. Give me the name of the narrator. If you feel especially adventurous, you can take your own. D. Give me his, hers, or your favorite animal. Now if you see that character up there in that moon, that's when you enter your word. Now please keep in mind while you're hearing this that I am neither a native English speaker nor really a writer. So please go easy on me, and thanks again for your help. And now, let's go. You want to hear my story? Are you sure? I mean, I'm not even sure anymore if it really happened. But okay. Here is what I remember. It was a beautiful, surprisingly warm day in late October. The sun filtered through the red and brown leaves. I wore a thick sweater, so I didn't even need a jacket, which made me very happy. They call it Golden Autumn where I come from. Is it the same where you live? Anyway, it was the last week of school holidays and we were hell-bent on making the most of it. I met with my friends Linda and Michael early this morning. Quickly we mounted our bikes and hurried towards the old city zoo. It was not exactly known for an exotic variety of animals or attractions, but in our small town, this zoo was the pinnacle of excitement. As kids, going through the old ornamented iron rod gates was like opening the doors to a world full of wonders. The only thing interfering with that impression was Mr. Toombs. He always looked at us with a mixture of suspicion and disgust. Mr. Toombs didn't seem to like children much, which probably meant that he had the wrong job as groundskeepers of a zoo. But for him, we were the reason for everything that broke or got dirty. We just called him for short. And he very well deserved that name, at least in the eyes of us kids. We normally scooted right past him as fast as we could, but today his regular look of disdain was paired with a gleeful sneer, which surprised me. I also thought I saw something in his eyes that made me stop right in front of him. It was like a glow in a dark room. It honestly creeped me out, but it also captivated me, invited me to look deeper, getting kind of lost in promises of revealing a secret. Let's go. Linda grabbed my arm and pulled me forward. What were you doing there? She asked me, clearly annoyed. I thought Never mind. I didn't really want to talk about it. For one, I had still goosebumps, but I also wasn't sure if it had really happened. The memory was already fading. Had there been voices? Had they called my name? That couldn't be, right? Good, stay away from. We really do not need him breathing down our necks. Not with what we have planned today. She looked at me with a stern face. Linda was our resident rebel. She was the leader and also the instigator of our little group. And she was right, of course. If got in any way, shape or form suspicious of us, or at least any more than usual, we would get into a lot of trouble. We finally found our goal, the old Arctic house of the zoo. It used to house penguins, Arctic wolves and even polar bears, At least if you believed the once beautifully painted pictures on its side. Now they were cracking and half hidden underneath the ivy, which had conquered more than half of the building. We had never seen it open. It got closed down over 30 years ago. Since then, countless urban legends were created and told. The most popular of them led us to believe that there was an incident with some crazy person, killing all the animals. That person was supposedly never found, and the zoo didn't have the funds to replace the animals. I was very nervous. I couldn't even enjoy the majestic living in an enclosure right next to the building. They normally always lifted my spirits. I kind of identified with their little antics, but this time I barely noticed them. My gaze was fixed on the shattered window in front of us, the gap in the glass just big enough for a kid to fit through. It did not really appear inviting, the glass shards looking like fangs surrounding a gaping black maw. "Are you sure we should do this?" Michael's quivering voice mirrored my own reluctance, but Linda didn't even answer. She just plowed forwards, as always, pulling us behind her like a freight train pulls its wagons. I was the last one who tried and made his way through the broken window. My arrival was less than graceful. I noisily tumbled to the ground, and Linda shushed me. "Sorry," I mumbled while getting up, cleaning my hands on my trousers from the grime and the dust of the floor. Michael and Linda were already scanning the room with the weak light beams emitted by their flashlights. We seemed to be in a bathroom. Apart from all the dirt everywhere, not a lot was actually broken. Not many vandals seemed to have had the courage to enter the building. I asked myself if that made us braver than them, or them smarter than us. Linda made her way into the hallway now, and of course, we followed. She was moving forward slowly. I was sure she was as scared as we were. I could see it in her eyes, in the half-dark as she looked back at us. But once she set her mind on something, she would pursue it relentlessly. I knew better than even try to make her turn around. Even as we heard something like a moan resounding through the hallway we had just entered. "Did you hear that?" Michael asked in a low and shaky voice. But Linda indicated him to shut up by throwing him a sharp look. She seemed more cautiously than before, but still she moved on, and we right behind her. I scanned the hallway on both sides with my own flashlight, regretting my decision to join this little expedition. "Help!" We froze. We heard that clear as day. There was no doubt now. This one we couldn't blame on the wind. "Help me!" I remember how impressed I was of Linda for moving forward now as fast as she did. I would not have been able to move myself if I wouldn't have been motivated by the fear of being left alone in this creepy hallway. We entered something that looked like the back of an enclosure, something normally not open to the public. Feeding buckets lined the wall. On the other side, there was an empty cage. This definitely was the room where the voice came from. I suspiciously looked at any cupboard on the long wall, measuring them with my eyes, asking myself if human could fit in there. I must have wandered slowly backwards while looking at them, because suddenly the bars of the cage touched my back. But before I could even move away, something clashed against the iron bars, sending not only vibration, but shock into my bones. I jumped back, turned around, and fell on the ground. Again. The cage was not so empty after all. In front of me was rattling on the bars. "Let me out! Quickly!" It surprised me that Michael was the first to talk. "Mr. Toombs? What are you doing in there?" "It was him. He threw me in here." There was a haunted, crazed look on Mr. Toombs' face, but he seemed genuinely scared, not frightening, which gave me back my own voice. Who did that?" He was looking right at me for a second, but then his eyes wandered and fixed on something behind me. "Him!" I turned around quickly, but something had already seized me by the collar of my sweater. With inhuman strength I was hauled up until I looked directly into his face. The face of... His eyes glowed in a violent... I was terrified, but also mesmerized. I heard a sharp laugh ringing in my ears, while I felt like I was pulled down somewhere dark and cold. Something wanted to grab me, embrace me. Suddenly I fell, and my butt hit the ground with a sharp pain. In front of me, two were struggling. Linda stood at the cage door. She had freed Mr. Toombs, and he had tackled the other Mr. Toombs to the ground. "Run!" he screamed, barely looking back at us. "Run!" And we did. We ran along the corridor and almost jumped through the glass. In my terror, I didn't even feel the small cuts I discovered later. We ran, and only stopped once we were out of sight of the zoo. No one believed us, of course. Typical for grown-ups. They often ask, but never listen. So, we finally collected all our courage and went back ourselves. And there he stood. And he even smiled at us. He beckoned us towards him. We were perplexed and nervous, but it was almost noon and there were a lot of people around. Nothing could really happen to us, could it? He ushered us through the entrance so that we didn't even have to pay. "Thank you for freeing me," he said in a warm tone, so that I had to smile back at him. But something was off, almost as if I saw a light glow in the back of his eyes. "Come on." Linda pulled me again behind her. "Didn't you want to see the..." Well, I did. And all this creepy stuff, these glowing eyes, that's all not real anyway, isn't it? So let's forget about all that. Don't even think about it. It's better to let it go. And even if it's dark and cold, I can trust it, right? And I trust Linda. She wouldn't pull me towards this glow if it wasn't alright. This beautiful glow. Thank you so much for joining me today and sitting through this whole story. I really appreciate it. Next up, Kelly Martial Art. I'm looking very much forward to this, and I hope you'll join me. And also that you will be visiting me again soon. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Have the greatest of days, and goodbye.